What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to another preview and prediction video for college football action in Week 10. And, possibly a little trap game for the number one team in the country. We've seen a lot of chaos this year, and the Michigan Wolverines are going to look to pull off an upset against the Oregon Ducks. An old school Big Ten team versus a new school Big Ten team. This one should be a lot of fun. From Ann Arbor, Michigan, we'll tell you everything you need to know about the Ducks and Wolverines here in just a little bit. But before we do that, you guys know I got to say thank you for all the love and support I continue to receive. And I know, this speech again, it really does mean a lot when you guys, watch my videos, which thank you for taking time out of your busy day to do so. And even more so when you just help support me. If you want to help support me in any way, shape, or form, well, you can interact with this channel in literally any way you can. Liking, commenting, sharing, or the biggest one, hitting that subscribe button down there and ringing the bell, especially if you're as big of a college football nerd as I am. And as well as go give me a follow on Twitter or X again, whatever you prefer to call it. It's at Tailgate Nate 29, and I'm hoping to get a plan finalized this weekend about how I can post a little bit more regularly about games I call, articles I write, things of that nature. So I encourage you, go give me a follow over there if you fancy any of the sort of work that I do. And now, without further ado, let's dive on in to this one. It's the Ducks. It's the Wolverines. Wolverines been a little bit, maybe not even a little bit. That might be an understatement, but they've been a disappointment so far this season. And the Oregon Ducks, well, have consistently right now, ever since those first 2 weeks, have looked like the best team in the country. And they're going to look to prove their might now that they are the top dog in the Big Ten Conference by beating the national title winner from last season. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel? Well, we're going to go through some keys to the game when each team possesses the football. First, the Duck offense versus this Wolverine defense, and then we'll flip it. We'll look at Michigan's offense against Oregon's defense, and we'll go ahead and give you a final prediction, final score, final thoughts, and everything else you need to know about the Ducks and Wolverines from the Big House in Ann Arbor. I believe the 3:30 game on CBS, although you'll find out where to watch it here a little bit later. Let's talk about this Oregon offense. Again, the number one team in the country is not the run and gun, go, go, go offense that we saw Bo Nix run last season. No, with Dillon Gabriel at the helm, it's a lot more calm, it's a lot more cool, a lot more consistent. They average fewer yards per plays, but the yards per play number is still really good. Darn near 7. 6.9 yards per play is a very, very impressive number, and Dillon Gabriel's been a stout so far this season as one of the front runners in the Heisman Trophy race. 2,371 yards, as well as 18 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. He's really cleaned up the interception bug here over the past couple of weeks. This is an Oregon offensive front that ever since allowing 7 sacks within the first 2 weeks has allowed just 3 over their following 6 games, including none to a pretty good pass rush in the Ohio State Buckeyes. And you just take a look at what this Oregon offense has done overall this season. I mean, come on, 300 pass yards per game. Jordan James, Noah Whittington in that run game. Jordan James, who you saw on that thumbnail screen. I'm really giving love to the running backs today because you had Desmond Reed as well as, who was it? Brashard Smith on the thumbnail screen for Pitt and SMU. And then you saw Jordan James there, and a player we'll talk about later on the Michigan side of things as well. You know who it was in Donovan Edwards. But regardless, getting back to my point, Jordan James has been a workhorse for this Oregon offense this year. It can hit you methodically. It can drive down the field with 14 plays, 75 yards, and take 6.5 minutes off of that clock. Or it can hit you in 3 plays with a 60-yard pass play over the top. This is an Oregon offense that no matter the style of game it becomes, they can kill you offensively. Now, this Michigan defense is definitely the strong suit of this football team because, I mean, we'll talk about the mess that is Michigan's offense here in just a little bit. Now, the defense, as good as it was last year, no, definitely not. It doesn't force as many turnovers. The run defense is not as good, and especially the thing that's going to stand out to you the most, the pass defense is just overall not that good, and it is an extremely talented secondary just from a raw talent standpoint, but it has been really weak so far this season. Again, for Oregon, it's offensive balance and controlling the pace. If you can keep this Michigan defense on the field, they're going to wear down, they're going to get tired, and ultimately too, though, what Oregon can do in this game, and it's not listed here on this screen, but what Oregon can do in this game to make it a whole lot more successful for them and a whole lot more favorable for them is make it a firefight, make it a shootout. hit those big plays over the top, and it's simply because Michigan's defense has not been able to slow that down at a consistent enough rate, talking about this side of the ball, but on the other side of the ball, Michigan's offense just won't be able to keep up, and we'll talk more about that here in just a little bit. But Oregon, I mean, no matter what game that they make it, I think it does favor the Ducks, which is, very disheartening to hear as a Wolverine fan. No matter if it's a slow it down, run out the clock, control the pace and tempo kind of game, or a we're going to hit you with explosive play after explosive play kind of game, I think it favors Oregon. Now, it's going to play more so into the hands of Michigan if it is a control the pace and offensive balance sort of game. That's probably what Oregon is going to look to do here regardless, but they also could go with the run and gun, boom, 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 big play after big play approach that kind of helped work against Ohio State when they came in there on October 12th. But again, I was just talking about it. This Michigan secondary is weak, and I think it's going to be attacked often. For as much as Oregon likes offensive balance, and they've controlled the pace of play in most of their games so far this season, again, we saw in that Ohio State game, it can hit deep shots when the secondary shows vulnerability, like the Buckeyes secondary did there, like the Illini secondary did last week, and like some of the other secondaries that Oregon has played so far this year have shown. Michigan, very, very good, talented secondary, but it hasn't forced the amount of turnovers that we are used to seeing Michigan force. It hasn't forced the amount of picks we are used to seeing Michigan force from that secondary, and you just overall take a look at some of those stats. I mean, Okay, so let me start with this. 35 pass defended, pretty darn good number there. That's actually a really respectable number, but 6 interceptions, you gotta force some turnovers against Dylan Gabriel and this offense. In fact, the name of the game for Michigan, and even the pass rush, not as good for the Wolverines here. The third down defense, not as good for the Wolverines this year. So what can the Wolverine defense do to limit the Oregon Ducks? Get the pass rush engaged. That's going to force third down and longs. Get off the field on third down, and maybe even force a takeaway or two here. And you're probably going to have to force at least one turnover, if not multiple, in this game to give yourself an advantageous chance to win. The last time we saw a top-ranked opponent, and mainly in the top 3, enter the Big House this season, it was Texas, and they went and mopped the floor with them. They used offensive balance, they used controlling the pace and tempo, and they used a stout defense. Michigan has got to use that script against Oregon here. It's got to be able to engage that pass rush. It has got to get off the field on third down, and it's got to be able to force a couple turnovers there as well. But again, when you are talking about this Michigan offense, it is just a mess. I mentioned this earlier when I talked about because if Oregon makes this game a firefight, makes it a shootout, there's no way Michigan is going to keep up because this offense has no consistency. You never know what you're going to get from this Michigan offense, and especially from the quarterback play. Now, Jack Tuttle did just announce his retirement from the game of football because he got like his 5th concussion in 2 or 3 years or something throughout his career, something like that. Very, very sad, and I really do wish Jack Tuttle the best, but you don't even know who your starting quarterback is going to be. It's now either Davis Warren, it's now either Alex Orji. Davis Warren can't throw the football to the right team. He's got 6 interceptions this year, and Alex Orji, he just can't throw the football, period. He's only averaging 3.4 passing yards per pass attempt, and his yards per completion, I think, are only around like the 6 or 7 mark, which is not where you want it to be at all. This is an offensive mess that needs to find some consistency. Where is it going to find that? Well, the same way that Michigan was able to beat the USC Trojans. Ground and pound. Kalel Mullings, Donovan Edwards, Alex Orji with his legs. You have got to be able to run on this Oregon defense. Now, a whole lot easier said than done because this is the Duck defense that has been a brick wall. And besides trying to game plan for the Ashton Genty offense, and again, that's when Oregon was still seeing their struggles, this has been a run defense that has been stout. It didn't allow Ohio State to run the ball. It didn't allow Illinois to run the football. However, Purdue was able to run on them a bit. You saw moments in that Ohio State game where Travion Henderson and Quinshaw Judkins were able to run. You saw moments in that Fighting Illini game where Illinois was able to run. Even though for the most part it has been really good, there have been moments where Oregon has sort of let up in that rush defense. lucky news for Michigan, that is their forte. If Kalel Mullings and Donovan Edwards can rip off big run after big run after big run, that's only going to lead to more and more success, and it's going to give Michigan a better and better shot here to win this game. Now, the secondary probably won't be much of a factor in this one unless it is forcing turnovers on the rare chances that Michigan does throw the football. I just don't think they're going to throw much here in this game because what Oregon may try to do in this one is make it a possession battle, but again, I think that favors Michigan a little bit because Michigan also going to try to make it a possession battle. They want to have the ball too because they want to get the ball out of the hands of Dylan Gabriel and this Oregon Ducks team, right? So that's why the Michigan defense getting off the field on third downs, getting off the field fast is so vitally important, but it's also why Michigan has got to find success running the football. If they cannot find success on the ground and they cannot run the football, well, it's definitely going to be a long day here for Wolverine fans. And this Ducks defense has been a rock so far. In the pass rush, I think can dominate an offensive line that just hasn't been as good as some of the Michigan teams that we have seen in the past, and also the turnovers, right? That's been a huge problem. But the biggest key for Michigan to win this game, yes, they have to be able to run the ball, but also, look, on defense, you got to be able to get off the field early. You got to limit the explosive plays. We all know that. The biggest key here is the Wolverine offensive front. They have not been as good as they have been in previous seasons, although throughout most part, this has still been a pretty solid offensive front. Oregon has got a great pass rush. Derek Harmon, Jordan Birch, and some other really good pass rushers that are going to provide pressure not only on the rare occasion that Michigan decides to throw the football, but to get into that backfield in general. It's make or break time for the Wolverines offensive line. And if it cannot play good, clean, sound, fundamental football and keep Oregon out of that backfield and allow Kalel Mullings and Donovan Edwards to work, even Alex Orji to get outside in a couple of those option plays or design quarterback runs, it's going to be a long day for the Michigan Wolverine faithful. Do I think that Michigan keeps this one closer than the experts think? Absolutely. This one is in the big house, and Oregon playing with house money right now. They have all the momentum in the world. I think Michigan is going to spoil it just a little bit for Oregon here in this game. But again, if Oregon makes this thing a shootout, I even think if Oregon scores above 20 points, it's going to be really hard for Michigan to win this game. They just don't have the offense to keep up. And like I said, even a game where Oregon is kind of controlling the offensive tempo and dominating the clock here, I mean, a slower pace, that's the game that Michigan wants, and yet I still think it favors the Ducks here in this matchup. Michigan is going to make this one closer than I think a lot of people out there believe, but I don't see Michigan scoring above 20 points on a defense for Oregon that has been really good so far this season. And again, no matter what way this game plays out, I think it favors the Oregon Ducks. It's a lot more advantageous for Michigan if it is a slow it down, sort of run out the clock type of game, but I don't think Michigan will have enough to win any type of game here against the number one team in the country because Oregon has definitely looked like it so far this year. I'll take the Ducks 27-16. That is my final score prediction. But let me know what you guys think about this one in the comment section down below. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. And I'll see all you guys tomorrow when we got some more Week 10 predictions on tap. Goodbye.